Hello everyone, and welcome to yet another marvelous video. We are all familiar with the DC supervillain Darkseid, and how his army of parademons has proved to be a formidable invading force, capable of taking down planets. Darkseid was born to a royal family on Apokolips, and later had many children. His family members are also notable characters in the DC universe, and are powerful entities in their own right. Among Darkseid's children, a few allied with him, while a few rose against his forces. Apart from his family, there were other prominent members of Darkseid's forces who held substantial power and authority. So, without any further delay, let us dive into today's video, where we will be covering all the characters associated with Darkseid. Actually, before we get into our explanation, we do have one very small request. If you like our content, then please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is just one small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thanks! Now, let's begin. Number 1. Darkseid. Prince Euxis, aka Darkseid, is undoubtedly one of the strongest supervillains in all of the DC universe. Born to King Yupa Khan and Queen Hegra, Euxis had a brother named Drax. Drax was a pacifist and disliked by his mother, Queen Hegra, who wanted her children to be authoritarian. Euxis grew up to be a megalomaniac and eventually killed his brother when the latter tried claiming the fabled Omega Force. After the death of Drax, Euxis claimed the Omega Force, following which his skin turned into stone. Rebranding himself as Darkseid, he claimed the throne of Apokolips, and since that day, he has been the ruler. At some point, Darkseid fell in love with a woman named Suli, whose pacifism made him question his own actions. However, Queen Hegra conspired her death, leading to Darkseid growing ruthless. When he learned about his mother's conspiracy, he killed her and took his revenge. Darkseid was also married to a woman named Tigra, with whom he had a son named Orion. At some point, to sign a peace treaty between Apokolips and New Genesis, which were at war, Darkseid and Highfather exchanged their offerings, following which Orion was sent to New Genesis, and Highfather's son, Scot-Free, was sent to Apokolips. This, however, backfired on Darkseid, as neither of the two allied with him. In New Genesis, Orion began believing the ideas of the Highfather, and later on, knowing about his mother Tigra, he sought vengeance on Darkseid. Scot-Free, who was sent to Apokolips, was tried by many to break his will and make him join Darkseid's force, but the latter escaped, along with the leader of the female Furies, Big Barda. Since then, Darkseid has set his prime goal of eliminating free will from the universe and reshaping it according to his terms. To make this happen, he sought to solve the anti-life equation, which gave the user complete authority over the thoughts and feelings of all living beings. Eventually, Darkseid began developing a special interest in Earth, as he believed its inhabitants collectively possessed fragments of the anti-life equation. He made several attempts to extract the fragments from selected individuals from the planets, and also tried invading Earth. This eventually led to numerous conflicts between Darkseid's forces and the superheroes of Earth. Number 2. Yuga Khan. Created by Mark Evanier and Paris Cullens, Yuga Khan was Darkseid's father and the first ruler of Apokolips. During his period, Apokolips grew up to become the most powerful empire in the universe, with him being at the top. However, all this was not enough for Yuga Khan, and he tried breaching the barrier of the Source Wall to get access to the Source. The Source Wall was a solid barrier surrounding the multiverse and contained statues of the dead gods and foolish cosmic beings who tried to breach it. Yuga Khan made a similar attempt, following which he joined the other celestial giants trapped in the Promethean galaxy. After eons of effort, Yuga Khan finally broke free and consumed a nearby planet called Velos. Yuga Khan also began consuming worlds, one after the other, and once when his true power was restored, he began his journey to Apokolips. Although Darkseid claimed to be far superior than his father, he felt fear for the first time. Yuga Khan restrained Darkseid and cut off the source, inhibiting both boom tubes and mother boxes. The leader of military forces in New Genesis, Commander Gideon, launched an attack on Yuga Khan, but the battle was one-sided, as not only Khan destroyed Gideon's soldiers from New Genesis, but also killed Gideon himself. Yuga Khan once again laid his interest on the Source Wall. This time, he was warned by the Highfather himself, but Khan ignored him and made his attempt. He transformed himself into a primal energy, but that didn't let him pass through the Source. He failed once again, and found himself again imprisoned in the Promethean galaxy. Number 3. Hegra. Queen Hegra was one of Jack Kirby's creations, and she made her first appearance in New Gods issue number 7. Queen Hegra was an apocalyptian noblewoman and Steppenwolf's sister. She got married to Yuga Khan and gave birth to Drax and Darkseid. She was one of the New Gods on Apokolips and followed the path of tyranny as well. Hegra despised Drax, as he was a pacifist, and hence was never really bothered after Darkseid had killed him. She was happy to watch Darkseid grow into the megalomaniac and wanted him to marry Tigra. Everything was moving according to plan until a girl named Sully entered Darkseid's life. Despite Sully being a pacifist, Darkseid fell for her and eventually began questioning his own actions. This infuriated Tigra, and believing her son to be corrupted by Sully, she conspired her death. She ordered Dessod to poison her, and it was her death which made Darkseid grow vicious and unhinged by anything. Later, when Darkseid learned about his mother's conspiracy, he ordered Dessod to poison her. Dessod complied, and that was the end for Queen Tigra. Number 4. Sully. Created by Mark Evanier and Paris Cullens, Sully was an apocalyptian scientist and sorceress. At some point, Darkseid fell in love with her, and the two married each other against the likeness of Queen Tigra. During his relationship with Sully, Darkseid began growing to love peace. It seemed that she was the only one who could change the fate of the tyrannical leader, but with her death, Darkseid is what we see him to be today. Queen Tigra deeply despised the idea of peace and the act of pacifism. She disliked her elder son for the same, and desired her younger son, Darkseid, to evolve into a ruthless leader. Hence, when Darkseid began showing signs of pacifism, she quickly began conspiring to Sully's death. Sully was fatally poisoned by Dessod under Queen Tigra's order and soon died. Number 5. Drax, aka Infinity Man. Drax was Tigra's firstborn and the elder brother of Darkseid. Created by Jack Kirby, this character was more like the free thinker of the family. Growing up amongst the tyrannical and ruthless beings, Drax was a pacifist, and the opposite of what Queen Tigra wanted her sons to become. Later, when he tried claiming the Omega Force, Darkseid killed him and claimed it for himself. Although Drax was believed to be dead, he was found at the right time by a mighty warrior from a distant planet named Astor, aka the Infinity Man. Astor rescued the brutally burnt body of Drax and eventually nursed him back to health. Later, when Astor was about to die of old age, he passed on the mantle of Infinity Man to Drax. Being the new Infinity Man, it took years of study for Drax to understand the true purpose of the mantle. He eventually came to the new High Father on New Genesis and offered his service. In New Genesis, he met the Forever People and became their protector. The Forever People had their ways of summoning Infinity Man. They would gather around, touch their mother boxes, and recite the word Taru. Upon reciting the word, the Forever People remained in a state of limbo until the Infinity Man arrived and revived them. Infinity Man soon grew up to become a threat to Darkseid, possessing superhuman strength, invulnerability, accelerated healing, teleportation, and telepathy. The leader of Apocalypse managed to send Infinity Man into another dimension, but later he was freed by the Forever People. At some point, Devilance the Pursuer tracked down Infinity Man and attacked him. Devilance the Pursuer was an evil new god on Apocalypse and had a personal vendetta against the Forever People and Infinity Man as well. As Devilance attacked Infinity Man, an intense battle began between the two. The island on which they fought exploded, and they were both presumed to be dead. Later, due to the combined efforts of the Forever People and Maya, Infinity Man returned to fight Darkseid. At some point, Infinity Man worked as an agent of the Source Wall.
Take a miracle!
Number 6. Mr. Miracle. Scott Free, who later became known as Mr. Miracle, was the son of High Father, Isaiah, the leader of the New Genesis. Darkseid, with the help of Steppenwolf, killed Isaiah's wife, Avia, which led to a war between New Genesis and Apocalypse. Isaiah battled by killing Steppenwolf, but Darkseid resurrected him. The battle continued until the two rivals accepted a diplomatic peace treaty. Darkseid and High Father exchanged their children, and for some time, peace was restored. Darkseid despised his son, Orion, and never wanted his mother Tigra even to conceive him for that matter, and so this was a fruitful bargain for him. Scott was sent to Apocalypse, and he grew up in the care of the Granny Goodness. However, when he grew up, he realized that he had the potential to escape from Apocalypse. Darkseid's forces heavily tried to make Scott a part of their forces, but Scott, guided by his love of freedom, escaped. He fell in love with the leader of the female Furies, Big Barda, and won her over with his innocence and goodness. Scott eventually fled to Earth and became the apprentice of a circus escape artist named Thaddeus Brown. Brown's stage name was Mr. Miracle, and when he was murdered, Scott assumed the identity of Mr. Miracle. Barda soon followed Scott to Earth, and the duo used their skills to defend Earth against being recaptured by Darkseid and his forces. Scott had even acquired the complete anti-life equation, but had never really attempted to use it. Following his father's death, he was appointed the leader of New Genesis, but he never wanted to be tied into such immense responsibilities and fled with the help of Shazam. On Earth, he was a hero and served the Justice League for a significant amount of time. Number 7. Calabac. Calabac was first introduced in New Gods issue number 1, published in March of 1971. He was the son of Darkseid and Sully, which made him the half-brother of Orion and Graven. Calabac grew up to become a legendary warrior on Apocalypse, serving as Darkseid's second in command. He aided his father Darkseid in several battles and conquests, but Darkseid valued his second son Orion more than him. Calabac and Orion were often pitted against each other, and later, when the former learned about Orion to be his half-brother, well, his hatred reached new new levels. Going against Darkseid, he even planned to confront Orion, and when his schemes were revealed, Darkseid reduced him to a pile of ash. Hoping that he had learned his lesson, Darkseid, after some time, had resurrected him. Later, when Darkseid was on Earth, Orion invaded Apokolips and imprisoned Calabac. Calabac was later killed by the Infinity Man when the latter worked as an agent of Sourcewall. However, during the final crisis, Calabac was reborn in a Tiger Man body and given an army of Tiger Men warriors. Calabac led his army of Tiger Men during the superhero assault on Bloodhaven and managed to beat Wakitani of the Marvel family to a blackout. However, after Shazam had distracted him by summoning a lightning bolt on Mary Marvel, Tawny regained his alertness and slashed Calabac across the chest. Calabac was mortally wounded by the attack and ordered his Tiger Men to help him, but they denied, stating that only the strong ones could lead them. Calabac's death was showcased in the Final Crisis issue 6, published in January 2009. Number 8. Orion. Orion was the second son of Darkseid, born to his wife Tigra. The character was created by Jack Kirby, and he made his first appearance in New Gods issue number 1, published in March of 1971. Darkseid did not want Tigra to give birth to Orion, and later asked her to get rid of him as well. Orion was later sent to the High Father, in exchange for Scot-free, as a peace treaty between New Genesis and Apokolips. In New Genesis, the High Father raised Orion, and taught him ways of controlling his rage. It was quite a difficult task for Orion, as he belonged to a family that was known for being ruthless tyrants filled with rage. He spent years gaining control over his dark aspects. Fortunately, he was helped by his friends, especially Lightray, a new god of the New Genesis. At some point, Orion obtained the anti-life equation, following which he was sent to Apokolips. He learned about his mother Tigra and confronted Darkseid about his birth. After defeating Darkseid, Orion claimed control of Apokolips and left for Earth with the anti-life equation. Upon reaching Earth, he used the anti-life equation to create intergalactic peace, eventually turning Earth into a utopian-like planet. It was later revealed that this was all happening according to the plans of Metron and Darkseid, who wanted Orion to disrupt the balance of the cosmos and realize the true meaning of the anti-life equation. Orion realized that despite his efforts, he ultimately stole the free will of living beings, which was equal to tyranny. Orion was forced to give up the power of the anti-life equation and left Apokolips. Orion was showcased as a member of the Justice League on several occasions, along with his friend Lightray.
Promise. Darkseid is neither amused nor impressed with Ma'ala Fa'ak's impudence.
Number 9. Graven. Graven was the third son of Darkseid, born to an unknown mother from several different planets conquered by Darkseid. He made his first full appearance as a mysterious threat destroying worlds in Green Lantern Volume 3, issue number 74. The issue showcased Donna Trey and John Stewart as members of an intergalactic police force named Dark Stars. Decimating 12 densely populated planets and killing 19 Dark Star members, Graven was on his way to Rangar to take their Zeta Beam technology for himself. When John and the rest of the Dark Star members were on their way to the planet Ron, Donna Trey arrived on Earth seeking Wonder Woman, or some equivalent, to help them take down the threat. She met Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner, and the two set off for Ran. However, when they arrived, Graven and his forces invaded Rangar and took down several other Dark Star members. While Donna Troy assisted the Dark Star members, Kyle Rayner confronted Graven. While fighting, Graven revealed his plans. He sought revenge on his father Darkseid, and with the Zeta Beam technology, he would transport with his army to Apokolips and destroy Darkseid. However, his plans failed, as Kyle restrained Graven, and a wounded John Stewart used the Zeta Beam on him. Unbeknownst to John, he teleported Graven into the core of the Earth. Graven later managed to find his way to the surface, and upon arrival, he sought Kyle Rayner for revenge. Kyle and Graven fought once again, and this time, the former gained the upper hand. To free himself from Kyle, Graven used the experimental teleporter, which ended up sending Kyle through time into the 30th century. Not much of Graven was known before he reappeared during the Imperiex crisis, where he was part of an alien alliance between Darkseid, Starfire, Adam Savage, and Maxima. When Superman arrived on Apokolips to confront Darkseid, it was revealed that Graven was working for Brainiac 13, helping him to destroy both Earth and Apokolips. Realizing the upcoming threat, Superman and Darkseid stopped fighting, following which Darkseid banished Graven to Earth. On Earth, Graven was somehow infected with the Joker toxin, which made him nearly crazy, orchestrating blasts all across the city. Green Lantern Kyle Rayner once again took him down. At some point, Kyle had partially lobotomized Graven and was later revived by Martian Manhunter. Graven's demise came at the hands of the God Killer after he teleported himself to Apokolips to kill Darkseid. Number 10. Grail. Created by Jeff Johns and Jason Fabok, Grail was the daughter of Darkseid, born to an Amazonian assassin named Marina. Marina secretly gave birth to Grail on the same day Hippolyta gave birth to Diana. She was aided by Penelope and watched by the Oracle Penelope. However, when Penelope heard about the extent of destruction the young girl would be causing from Penelope, she tried getting rid of her. Marina killed Penelope and left Themyscira with her daughter. 10 years later, Grail formed an alliance with the Anti-Monitor and declared war on Darkseid. Grail arrived on Earth through a dimensional portal and defeated the Justice League members quite easily. After taking down Green Lantern and the Power Ring, Grail used the ring's power to summon the Anti-Monitor. As she welcomed the Destroyer to the world, Wonder Woman attacked her. But fortunately, Metron arrived and teleported the Justice League members to a safe place. Grail summoned her father, Darkseid, and then began Darkseid's war with the Anti-Monitor. Darkseid summoned the Black Racer to help fight a high opponent, but the Anti-Monitor managed to get control over him and made Black Racer kill Darkseid. At some point, Grail separated Darkseid from the anti-life equation, returning him to his infant state. Grail was shown caring for the baby, promising she would love him, just the way her mother loved her. Both Darkseid and Grail received a second chance to reform their lives, but Grail soon descended to evil. She thought to steal the life of Zeus's children to accelerate Darkseid's growth rate. She killed Hercules quickly and used the Mother Box to drain his life force. With the life force of Hercules, Darkseid aged into a teenager. Darkseid suggested to Grail that they should be killing more Olympian gods to make sure he attains his complete form, and since then, they've been in a hunt for the Olympian gods. Number 11. Deathspawn. Deathspawn was the offspring of Darkseid and the Fury of Death. Born on Mars, Death was a kind and gentle being, committing her life to love and to heal all creatures on her planet. At some point, when the Apocalyptian forces arrived to invade her world, she was too sick to nurse her child, who had died in a tragic manner. Darkseid felt grief for her, summoned her, and offered her a chance to become his herald. Darkseid also offered to bear her a new child of his, that could later grow up and destroy countless worlds. Delighted by the offer, Death accepted it, and became the Fury of Death. She conceived Darkseid's child, who gave birth after the defeat of the Furies. The child was known as Deathspawn. Owing to his Martian origin and relationship with Darkseid, Deathspawn was an immensely powerful being, possessing godlike powers and Martian physiology. Deathspawn possessed superhuman strength, stamina, durability, speed, and all other abilities like that of a Martian. He could also regenerate his body, travel through dimensions, and use telekinesis. When Deathspawn, using his powers, reached the Parliament of Earth, he was so powerful that he single-handedly defeated the elemental forces of the planet. Opposing the Green Lanterns, Deathspawn tore his way through the Earth's core and covered the entire planet with molten metal. He was terraforming the Earth to prepare it for the arrival of Apocalypse. Created by Daniel H. Wilson, Marguerite Bennett, and Mike Johnson, Deathspawn made his first appearance in Earth 2, World's End, issue number 17, published in March 2015, and he died in the 19th episode. Number 12. Tigra. Created by Jack Kirby, Tigra made her first appearance in New Gods issue number 7, created in March of 1972, as Queen Hegra's preferred wife for her son Darkseid. Although Darkseid was engaged to her at one point, he had no real affection for her. Going against Darkseid's wishes, Tigra gave birth to a boy named Orion. Soon after his birth, Orion was sent to New Genesis in exchange for scot-free in order to seal a peace treaty between the New Genesis and Apocalypse. Following this, Tigra was imprisoned in a cryogenic chamber for years until Orion arrived and learned about his mother. He scorched Apocalypse and found her. With the help of a scientist named Hymen, Orion managed to free Tigra and took her to New Genesis. Tigra wanted Orion to take down Darkseid and claim the throne of Apocalypse for himself. She lied to him, stating that Darkseid was not his father, so the latter would not think twice about killing him. However, Tigra was killed by the Suicide Jockeys in Orion issue number 3, published in August of 2000, and she died in Orion's arms before confessing the truth about Darkseid.
My lord.
Number 13. Steppenwolf. After the Justice League live-action film, it's safe to say that we are all familiar with Steppenwolf and the wrath that followed after his arrival on Earth. He was one of the most powerful minions of Darkseid, and everyone apart from Superman seemed to struggle to fight him. Steppenwolf was Queen Hegra's brother and later the uncle of Darkseid. The character was one of Jack Kirby's creations and debuted in New Gods issue number 7, published in March of 1972. Later, when Darkseid rose to power, he served as his commander. During Hegra's rule on Apocalypse, Darkseid made Steppenwolf lead his army and kill people of the New Genesis so that it could incite a war between New Genesis and Apocalypse. Steppenwolf killed the wife of Isaiah, the ruler of New Genesis, and in response to that, Isaiah killed Steppenwolf. However, Darkseid resurrected him, following which he again assumed his role as the commander of Darkseid's army. Steppenwolf made numerous appearances and assisted his nephew Darkseid in several battles and conquests. At some point, when the Flash had discovered apocalyptic technology beneath the Los Angeles city, Steppenwolf arrived to retrieve it. However, Flash was accompanied by many other Justice League members, and their combined efforts got Steppenwolf captured. Later, Steppenwolf was killed by the Clock King. Number 14. Granny Goodness. Granny Goodness was another of Jack Kirby's creations that first appeared in Mr. Miracle issue number 2, published in June of 1971. The events which evolved this character into becoming one of Darkseid's most trusted minions were gruesome. Granny Goodness was one of the lowlies on Apokolips and belonged to a family of peasants until Darkseid's forces took her. Removing her from her parents, she was trained to become one of Darkseid's hounds. Granny Goodness was first asked to train a dog, whom she named Mercy. Eventually, Granny Goodness and Mercy bonded together, and during the final training, she was asked to kill Mercy. Granny, however, killed her instructor for the command, and later, when brought before Darkseid, she stated that she saved the life of one of the finest assets of Darkseid, Mercy. She added that Mercy would always be loyal to Darkseid, following which, Darkseid ordered Mercy to kill Granny. Mercy attacked Granny and died at her hands. Darkseid was pleased to let Granny Goodness join his forces to train soldiers to follow Darkseid blindly. He provided her with his elite soldiers and a training facility, which she used for torturing and brainwashing innocents into factional warriors loyal to Darkseid. At some point, Granny Goodness even ran orphanages on Earth to find potential targets that would be made to join Darkseid's forces. She was later the chief of the Female Furies that was also tasked to train Scott for Darkseid. Number 15. Mortala. Mortala was a human and an inhabitant of Earth until Darkseid laid his eyes on her. She was kidnapped along with several other mortals by Dessod under Darkseid's orders. These individuals were tortured by Dessod to an unimaginable level to extract the fragments of the anti-life equation. Many died in the process, but a small part of her survived. Following this, Darkseid ordered Dessod to get her back to health and make her appear like his deceased lover, Suli. Dessod reformed her into one of Darkseid's slaves, and it was later revealed that Mortala lived every day of her life in unimaginable fear. She never even closed the door without Darkseid's permission. Later, she was given the powers to bestow sleep upon anyone with one hand and death on the other by Darkseid himself, believing that she would never use it against him. Darkseid made her a part of elite forces, and she was identified as his kept woman. However, later, when Orion defeated Darkseid and invaded Apokolips, she overcame her fears and tried seducing Orion to gain power for herself. Mortala's death was showcased in Death of the New Gods, issue number 3, published in January of 2008, where the murderer of the New Gods had killed her. When her body was found by Orion, Mr. Miracle, and Superman, it was shown that her heart was missing.
I told you.
Number 16. Dessod. Dessod was a young boy on New Genesis, who later met Prince Euxis. Euxis made him believe that his pet cat had killed his pet bird, following which he buried the cat alive. Later, the bird was shown and it returned to him, but Dessod was infuriated and he killed the bird. He followed Euxis to Apokolips and took the name Dessod. Dessod eventually became Darkseid's most trusted advisor and his closest friend. Later, when Darkseid fell in love with Suli, Queen Hegra threatened Dessod and forced him to poison Suli. When Darkseid later became aware of his mother's conspiracy, he ordered Dessod to kill Hegra. Although Dessod followed Darkseid's orders and served him as a loyal minion, his bond between Darkseid was damaged after he killed Suli. He was once the closest thing Darkseid could relate to as a friend, but after the death of Suli, the friendship between them was ruined. Over the years, he was tortured by Darkseid. He was killed numerous times by Darkseid's Omega Beam, but owing to his usefulness, Darkseid kept resurrecting him. Created by Jack Kirby, Dessod first appeared in Forever People, issue number 2, published in May of 1971.
Today I have a report from Dr. Frederick, the respected child psychologist, in which he states, and I quote...
Number 17. Glorious Godfrey. Glorious Godfrey was a gifted orator with incredible powers of persuasion. Godfrey was also one of Jack Kirby's creations and made his first appearance in Forever People, issue number 3, published in July of 1971. He was a member of Darkseid's forces and at some point was sent to Earth to spread unrest, which would pave the way for Darkseid's arrival. He slowly began building supporters, and for the ones who did not comply, he had sent his army known as Justifiers to deal with them. Glorious Godfrey then sent them to hunt and kill the Forever People, which they failed, thanks to Infinity Man. Godfrey's primary powers were of persuasion and decelerated aging. Despite working for a brutal force, he maintains charisma.
Fool! My device can last forever!
Number 18. Vermin Vanderbar. Vermin Vanderbar was a minion of Granny Goodness, who molded him to become a key member of Darkseid's elite. With a height of 5 feet 2 inches, this man possessed superhuman strength, stamina, and reflexes. Owing to his new god physiology, he was immortal and was known for war tactics and hand-to-hand combat. His personality and policies were like that of a Prussian military. Growing up in one of the orphanages of Granny Goodness, he tried several schemes of gaining power, and it often involved Darkseid's lieutenants like Steppenwolf, Kanto, and Dr. Bedlam. Marvelous verdict. And so we have completed our list, and we hope you have enjoyed our content. Darkseid and his allies were important characters in the DC universe and have appeared on different occasions in every form of media. Although we only got a glimpse of Darkseid in the recent Justice League live-action film, we can only imagine the level of excitement if characters like Calabac, Granny Goodness, Grail, etc. were introduced to the live-action films. If there were any characters closely attached to Darkseid that we missed, make sure to let us know in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to leave us a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, have a good one and be safe.